Hello everybody, I'm some Loudmouth on the internet with an opinion. There aren't many children's programs that deal with the subject of a senior citizen facing their mortality, because obviously this is an issue that is far from the minds of most children, even though it's something that at some point in their lives all of them will have to face. Hopefully. There was one huge exception, of course, the 2009 masterpiece by Pixar, Up. Coincidentally, the episode we're about to look at today deals with the very same themes of Up and stars the exact same voice actor, Ed Asner. So, without further ado, let's dig into episode 6 of Gargoyles The Goliath Chronicles, Dying of the Light. We open this episode with a dream flashback.
Hudson, your eye.
You know, I realize this is the first time we've seen a flashback in the Goliath Chronicles. Strange because it was a very common thing in the first two seasons. Unfortunately, this flashback doesn't really add anything new to the series' mythos. It's mostly just stock footage from previous episodes that sets up Hudson's eye trouble by reminding us how he lost vision in one of his eyes. We then cut to a group of basically Greenpeace-style environmentalist hippies called the People for Interspecies Tolerance, a group that support and want to protect the gargoyles. Yeah, why haven't environmentalists shown up on this show since gargoyles were proven to exist in this universe? If Harambe got so much love, hippie environmentalists would absolutely adore the talking noble gargoyles.
How dare we presume that the gargoyles would welcome our attention?
That is until the villainous Quarry Men attack the group.
Quarry Men!
Why? Because they're bigots who hate and fear what they don't understand, yada yada yada. We cut back to Hudson, who reveals that he is going blind and can't admit it, afraid he'll become useless to the clan.
Believe it. My eye. My good eye. This can't be happening. Old Hudson hasn't seen clearly for a month now. But I've been too stubborn to admit it. Or too scared.
It's like that time when we see our first gray hair. We've all been there. Or we will. News of the Quarrymen's latest bit of thuggery hits the gargoyles, and they ain't too happy about it.
It is one thing for those miserable Quarrymen to hunt us, but to attack defenseless humans whose only crime is to respect us.
This makes Hudson a little bit more reckless than usual.
Actually, we caught a break this time. The Blues picked up one of those quarry boys who got himself knocked out cold. He's also at Manhattan Medical, under guard until he's cleared for transport to Riker's lockup.
To the hospital! I'll see that this ruffian tells what he knows.
Well, that's a bit out of character. Hudson was always one of the more reserved gargoyles. He wasn't some crazy psycho who wants to go attack hospitals.
Hudson, do you really believe that attacking a hospital would aid our cause? What is happening with you? You have been many things before, but never reckless, old friend.
They may be. Stop calling me old.
Never mind, actually. It's actually very understandable he would be acting out of character due to his current frustrations. Proper character development. I like. They have one of the Quarrymen locked up in the hospital who Elisa is interrogating. Angela shows up outside both to scare the imprisoned Quarryman and to thank the humans who were supporting her.
Hey, God! I want a phone! I want to make my phone call now, alright?
I don't believe it! This is more than we ever hoped for! I hope you don't mind, but I had to come to thank you for your work promoting tolerance, for being our friends.
Not a scene really necessary to this episode's plot, but a good scene nonetheless. Hudson, on the other hand, heads to the crime scene and is so blind he doesn't see the Quarrymen coming for him. Thankfully, he is alright in the end because, once again, nobody can shoot for shit. Bullets go right through wood. At close range, a wooden table would provide no shield to gunfire whatsoever. In an episode that I was actually liking, it had to have one thing to really piss me off. Broadway shows up to help fight off the remaining Quarrymen, and this eventually leads to Hudson storming off in a fit of self-pity.
Hudson? Hey, you're hurt. Let me help you back to the Erie.
I can still take care of myself, thank you very much. And I'll be going home when it suits me.
You know, I said it would make sense for him to be acting out due to his frustrations, but abandoning his clan now seems a bit much. Hudson decides to head to the house of his old friend Geoffrey, a blind man seen in the original series.
I just came by to say farewell.
Really good to see this character back. He was a very underused character in the original show, and given the plot of this episode, it's very appropriate he would be in it.
You can't leave without one last iced tea, extra sugar. Here. Take it.
Thanks.
So, you said goodbye, but there's something else you're not telling me.
Nothing of importance.
Losing your sight isn't important.
What do you mean?
Please, Hudson. I'm blind, not stupid.
That's a huge understatement. You just gave Daredevil a run for his money. But that isn't all that Geoffrey has somehow managed to figure out.
Yes, we'll meet you at the clinic in half an hour.
She can't help me. No one can. I'm not like her other patients.
Why? Because you're a gargoyle? Yeah, you heard me, Cornelia. My friend Hudson is a gargoyle. Oh, I knew you'd be thrilled.
I wanted to tell you, but at first I didn't want to frighten you. Then, later, I didn't want to lose your friendship.
It wasn't hard to figure out, Hudson. Late night visits only, your accent, that smell.
What smell?
Well, you tell me, sort of like old leather and concrete?
Ha! Old leather and concrete. What a good line.
I'll have my driver bring the car around. And by the way, don't ever do that again.
Do what again?
Figure I'd be a bigot about you being a gargoyle or anything else.
How could I have assumed the worst of man in you when you are truly the best? I am sorry.
And yes, apparently within only a couple hours of calling, Hudson is able to go to the hospital for quick eye surgery that same night.
This physiology is all about, so I'm kind of shooting from the hip here. Now, the good news is you called me when you called me. We shouldn't be bothered this late.
Yes, kids, that's exactly how efficient the medical system was before Obamacare. Sadly, anyone hoping this episode would continue to focus on solid writing over dumb action would be disappointed to find out that a bunch of Quarry Men apparently are stationed all over the hospital.
I saw a gargoyle at the eye clinic. I'm gonna check it out.
Wasn't it a pretty bad idea to bring Hudson for standard eye surgery to a hospital where they knew a Quarry Man was being held at? The Quarry Men, a group that they have tangled with before, who they know seek the extinction of all gargoyles, when there are hundreds of other hospitals in the city. That seems like a really bad decision. Hudson is formally diagnosed with glaucoma in his right eye, and they set up the surgery for later that night. But Hudson still doesn't want to call and tell his clan about it because, of course, he's still so damn stubborn.
Oh, I get it. You don't want to face your friends if you can't see, huh?
What do you think a gargoyle is, Geoffrey? We protect our castle, or we die trying. That's it. And I can't do that blind.
Hey, I'm a good soldier too, Hudson. How do you think this happened to me? The only difference between us is I've never quit fighting.
Well, that's kind of an asshole thing to say. When the hell did Hudson ever quit fighting? Just a couple minutes ago he said,
Whoa there. Glaucoma is rough, but it's controllable. You're gonna be fine, if you're willing to fight it.
I've always been up for a good battle.
But sadly, those dastardly Quarrymen managed to ambush the cops holding their comrade hostage and begin to search for Hudson in the most abandoned hospital in history.
So we can finish off this gargoyle?
Come on. We're Quarrymen, ain't we? Isn't that the whole point?
Fun fact, it was shot in the same hospital where they shot Halloween 2. Meanwhile, Hudson's already finished with surgery.
Tomorrow night, the bandages come off. Now, no fair peeking. After that, we start your medicine as soon as Carrie gets back with your prescription.
Looks like I've got myself a roomie for a day or two.
No, it'd certainly be for only one night, as Hudson's stone sleep would certainly heal all surgery scars. Hudson hears about the Quarrymen in the hospital and is determined to fight them despite his blindness. They start by evening the odds by turning off the lights.
Hey, who turned on the lights? What guy?
Hey, where's the emergency lights, huh? I mean, you know, hospitals are supposed to have emergency lights.
What do you care? The room looks barely any different. They respond to the lack of light by doing what anyone would do in such a situation, by setting a bunch of fires.
But those things see in the dark, man. They hunt at night.
So I'll turn on the lights.
which is always a reasonable and logical thing to do if you can't find a light switch. I do it all the time. I can't find a light switch at night, I set a fucking fire! In order to fight fire with electricity, Hudson and friends deal with the Quarry Men by frying them with electricity, which wouldn't work because they're wearing shoes with rubber soles. But whatever, day saved.
We'll get every one of those filthy creatures. They can't hide. There's thousands of us out there.
There's one less out there tonight.
Hudson makes a few silly puns and learns to ask his friends for help.
There's nothing Robbins and I couldn't handle blindfolded. I'll fill you both in on the way back home. If you'd both be kind enough to help me, that is.
Did I hear that right? Was Hudson asking for help?
And the episode ends. Anyways, this episode was actually pretty good. I mean it. This is easily the best episode of Gargoyles The Goliath Chronicles after Wiseman's departure. And I'm sure Wiseman agrees. Greg Wiseman actually lifted a piece of dialogue from this episode into his canonical comic book series. When I first saw this, I assumed this was a piece of dialogue he wrote before leaving the series. But in fact, it's actually a moment he borrowed from the Goliath Chronicles after the fact to tribute one of the few moments the Goliath Chronicles got something right. Kudos to him for that. This episode certainly isn't perfect. The villains still occasionally act like total morons, and still features characters that speak in one-note cliches that don't sound natural. And its message that it's okay to ask for help is once again a bit too obvious, but the positives in this episode outweigh the flaws. Particularly Ed Asner's performance as an old warrior trying to overcome life's natural aging process is pretty compelling. So overall, this episode is alright in my book. If the entire season was on the same level as this episode, I guarantee you that the Goliath Chronicles would have been much better received by fans of the show. Will the next episode continue the same quality? Absolutely not. Stay tuned, everyone. I'm some Loudmouth on the internet, and you just heard my opinion. Special thanks to the Dark Conservatarian, Connor Johnson, and my other awesome patrons. And be sure to subscribe for more Loudmouth reviews, commentaries, and editorials.